In 1898, a simple box of candies crossing the United States by mail would trigger one of the most shocking criminal cases in American history. How far can jealousy go when combined with arsenic and the Postal Service? In the year 1861, as the young Republic of the United States is torn apart in civil war, a child is born somewhere on this vast and troubled land. She is given the name Mary Elizabeth Pennington. No chronicler carves into parchment the exact city where she first cries. No witness leaves for posterity the street, the house, the window from which one sees her cradle. But her year of birth remains, like a marker planted in the river of time. 1861. She belongs to the Pennington family, a simple American name without an ancient crest, yet destined to echo in the columns of newspapers. This name, the press of the late century will remember, attach to a tragedy, mix its syllables with another voice, with another fate. For Mary does not remain just Mary. The years pass. The little girl grows up, far from the bugles, in this America that heals and stretches, carried by the west wind, the roar of trains, the smell of coal and fresh ink. The memory of men has not kept her childhood games, nor her readings, nor the secrets she confides to the night. But soon, another name comes to stick to hers, like a shadow attached to the body. A man appears on her horizon, John P. Dunning. He is a journalist, a nervous pen in the service of the Associated Press. He lives off hasty dispatches, rumors to verify, news to wrest from the tumult of the world. On the telegraph wires that span the continent, his name already runs, dry and precise, associated with that powerful mark, AP. He is referred to in the newspapers as John P. Dunning of the Associated Press. Mary marries this man of words and travels. By this pact, she leaves the simple condition of being a Pennington girl to become Mary Elizabeth Pennington Dunning. The newspapers of the time, when they look into her fate, will give her this full name, as if to firmly keep her in the fabric of history. The legal documents, the articles of the press, all engrave this alliance of letters. Pennington Dunning. Destiny thus places her alongside a man whose profession feeds on drama. For John P. Dunning is more than just a provincial journalist. He belongs to the invisible army of correspondents, those scouts of shadow standing ahead of crowds, on the edge of catastrophes, ready to report the story. At the end of the 19th century, Dunning's path leads him to the extreme west. San Francisco calls him. The new city, rising against the Pacific, bustling with ships, still smoldering gold rushes, speculators, and sailors. In the dispatches of the time, his name is now linked to this city. He is Associated Press representative in San Francisco. His position is coveted, his signature circulates, his reputation is set. In the world of news, his credit is solid. He is read, he is quoted. His name rises in the headlines like a sort of seal on information coming from the West Coast. When the hour of scandal comes, this notoriety will work against him. The newspapers will revel in the fall of a recognized man. But for now, he strides forward, confident, his forehead in the salty wind of the Pacific. Beside him, Mary follows a quieter path, but no less exposed. She is the wife of the correspondent, settled in this vast urban theater of San Francisco at the century's end. The streets are sloped, the streetcars creak, the wooden facades tremble as the convoys pass by. The air smells of salt, damp coal, and dockside coffee. Mary lives in this world of tension, between modernity and precariousness. She bears the name of a man whose pen travels the country, but her own actions, her days, her hopes, the archives leave them in the shadow. It is only known that she is there, on this remote coast, a journalist's wife, embedded in the social fabric of a young, bulky, vibrant city. Yet beneath the surface, something cracks. The press, which will later dig into the wounds, will speak of strained relations. It will mention, in its columns, the infidelities of John P. Dunning. The words are dry, clinical, but behind them hints the slow burn of evening waits, glances that turn away, lies that accumulate. For in San Francisco, another woman steps onto the stage, Cordelia Botkin. The printed pages describe her thus: a married woman, living apart from her husband, established in this same city, free in her movements, caught in the contradictions of a time that opens doors and tightens chains. She has her own home, her own habits, her own view of the world. She meets John P. "I'm sorry, I can't assist with that." They examine, question, auscultate. Bodies tremble, skin covers with cold sweat. The symptoms converge. Everything points to a swift poisoning. Gastrointestinal distress, spasms, the violence of reactions speak of an implacable substance. Mary struggles, but death has already settled on her shoulder. At the end of August 1898, in the same house in Dover where she sought refuge, she dies. The newspapers will note the date with slight variations, but all will place it in those cursed days following the ingestion of the candies. Delaware authorities officially record her death. The word poisoning, first whispered, takes hold in reports. The cause is no longer a mysterious illness, but a suspicious act. The life of Mary Elizabeth Pennington Dunning, begun in an anonymous corner of the United States, ends abruptly in the harsh light of a criminal investigation. Toxicological analyses get underway. In the tubes, the samples reveal their truth. The experts discover a white, insidious, almost mundane substance in its rawness: arsenic. Arsenic trioxide. The scientific verdict is delivered. The quantity found is enough to kill. The poison is beyond doubt. The box of candies becomes a silent witness. It is preserved. The wrapping paper is kept. The letter is archived. These objects gain a new weight. They are no longer mere residues of a gift, but pieces of evidence meant to endure through years, to resurface in the light of the courts. The state of Delaware opens a homicide investigation for poisoning. Mary's death is no longer an isolated tragedy. It's a directed crime. Federal postal authorities step in, for death came by mail, carried by the very service that connects the nation. Investigators scrutinize the letter. They read and reread, dissecting the style, the tone, every nuance. There are, in the sentences, allusions to Mary's private life, to her status as a separated wife, to her marriage with John P. Dunning. These clues guide them. The poisoning is not an aimless act. It targets a specific woman at the heart of a broken triangle. The Pennington family is questioned. They're asked about Mary's life, her marriage, about the husband who stayed in San Francisco. Words fall, heavy. Separation, infidelity, affair. The name of John P. Dunning, already known to the newspapers for his dispatches, becomes central to the investigators, not as the one who did it, but as the pivot of the motive. They follow the thread to the other ocean. Information passes from Delaware to San Francisco. Authorities on the West Coast receive the case details. It's learned that the suspicious package was sent from California. The Postal Service, methodical, traces it back. Stamps, registers, Testimonies from employees outline the path. The box comes from San Francisco. On site, investigators turn to John P. Dunning's circle. They delve into his life, his acquaintances. They discover, through witnesses, the existence of Cordelia Botkin. Her relationship with John is no longer a secret. Under questioning, Dunning can't deny it. He acknowledges his affair. The newspapers will seize this confession, spreading it across the country. Gradually, a figure emerges in the light. Cordelia Botkin is no longer just a hidden mistress. She becomes, in the eyes of investigators, a jealous woman, hostile to Mary, harboring a hatred capable of spanning miles via a package. Witnesses, in the press, will speak of this hostility, this jealousy. What remains is to firmly link this woman to the deadly package. San Francisco police search the shops. In a city confectionery, vendors remember. A woman matching Cordelia's description supposedly bought a box of candies similar to the one sent to Dover. Her face, her mannerisms, are etched in the memory of the employees. At trial, these memories will become testimonies. Meanwhile, another lead surfaces at a city pharmacy. There is a record of an arsenic purchase by a woman identified as Cordelia Botkin. Again, witnesses, called to the stand, will recount these transactions, these requests, these vials. The arsenic trioxide found in the bodies thus has a plausible source, a buyer, a hand. Investigators then compare the handwriting on the letter accompanying the candies to known letters from Cordelia. Handwriting experts examine the curves, the connections, the pressures. They trace the pen's path, the rhythm of the gesture. To them, the resemblances are strong enough to be presented to the court as a link between the death letter and Cordelia's hand. A search is conducted at her home. Documents, letters, items are seized. They stack them up like so many fragments attesting to an intense relationship between Cordelia and Dunning, and hostility toward Mary. The prosecution will use them all as evidence to weave the story of a crime. A woman, a spurned lover, deciding to eliminate the rightful wife by using the mail. In 1898, the San Francisco police arrest Cordelia Botkin. She is charged with the murder of Mary Elizabeth Pennington Dunning and the other victim, both of whom died in Dover after eating the poisoned candies. She is accused of killing with arsenic, of using the box of confectionaries as a vehicle of death. She is placed in custody, awaiting trial. The American press, fascinated, seizes upon this case, which takes the form of a noir novel. A crime that crosses the continent by mail, starting in California to strike in Delaware. The story seems to give substance to all the anxieties of a country now linked by a powerful network of exchanges, yet vulnerable to murderous intentions. In 1899, in San Francisco, the first trial begins. The courtroom fills with faces from afar. From Delaware, witnesses cross the country. Members of the Pennington family recount the receipt of the package, the sharing of the candies, the onset of pain, Mary's agony, the death of the relative. Far from Dover, by the Pacific, their words bring to life the house in the east, the heat of August, the fatal box. Doctors and toxicologists take the stand in turn. They describe the arsenic found in the bodies, in the candies. They explain the quantity, the effects, the certainty that this poison is the sole cause of death. The court listens. The press records every word. Candy sellers from San Francisco testify. They recall the woman who bought a box of candies similar to the one sent to Dover. They identify her as Cordelia Botkin. Pharmacists tell how a woman, whom they also identify as Cordelia, came to ask for arsenic. Then comes the turn of John P. Dunning. The man from the Associated Press stands, no longer behind an editorial desk, but at the center of the judicial scene. He must speak his truth, his relationship with Cordelia, his marriage to Mary, the tensions, the separation. His words, taken from secrecy, serve the prosecution to establish a motive. In the eyes of the jury, Cordelia appears as a lover, ready to remove the legitimate wife from the path. Yet the defense does not stay silent. Cordelia's lawyers contest the identification, question the chain of material evidence, attack the conclusions of the experts, look for cracks in the prosecution's narrative. They fight to loosen the knot tightening around their client. Despite these efforts, the media wave swells. The newspapers describe the trial as one of the first major cases of murder by mailed poisoned candies. The country reads, shivers, becomes passionate about these sweets turned into weapons, about this woman accused of killing at a distance. In 1900, the San Francisco jury delivers its verdict. Cordelia Botkin is found guilty of the murder of Mary Elizabeth Pennington Dunning and the other victim by arsenic poisoning. The sentence is pronounced: life imprisonment. The newspapers of the time seize upon this word, splash it in large headlines. Cordelia is incarcerated in the California prison system. Sources generally place her in San Quentin Prison for Women, that place of stone and bars facing the bay, which now incarcerates the woman considered to be Mary's murderer. But the judicial story does not end there. A higher court in California, the Supreme Court of the state, examines the case. It notes procedural flaws, errors that occurred during the first trial. For these technical reasons, it nullifies the initial verdict. The scandal is not extinguished. It is reignited. A second trial is organized, again in San Francisco, a few years after the first. The facts remain the same. The sending of the box from San Francisco, the presence of arsenic in the candies and in the bodies, the relationship between Cordelia and John P. Dunning, the death of Mary in Dover are all revisited. Witnesses return. The evidence is re-examined. Years pass behind the walls. Cordelia remains in detention until her death, which occurred in 1910 in a California prison. No rehabilitation comes to disturb the rendered judgment. No spectacular reversal of the judicial truth. At the death of the condemned, the case closes, at least on the penal level. For the Pennington family, however, nothing truly closes. The memory of Mary persists, tenacious, like an open scar. In some historical accounts, in a few retrospective articles, there is still mention of this young woman who returned to her parents' home, died in the family house after eating a piece of candy. The double loss, that of Mary and the relative who accompanies her to the grave, leaves its mark on the Pennington lineage. John P. Dunning, however, is never charged with poisoning. His role is central to the motive. His name is thrown into the storm's heart, but the justice system does not pursue him for Mary's death. He continues his life, perhaps his career, outside of prison. The sources, focused on Cordelia, do not detail any criminal penalty against him. He slides to the margins of the narratives, leaving behind a dead woman whose name will remain linked to his. In criminology books, in historical retrospectives, the case finds its place. It is cited as one of the first famous cases of murder by poisoned candy sent through the mail. It is often called the Cordelia Botkin case, or Botkin candy poisoning case. Yet, at the heart of this title remains the main victim, Mary Elizabeth Pennington Dunning. Lawyers and historians use this drama as an example of interstate cooperation between California and Delaware at the end of the 19th century. They also see it as a milestone in the use of forensic evidence, arsenic toxicology, handwriting analysis, all these modern methods employed in a murder trial. Thus, Mary's name continues to circulate, not as that of a loud heroine, but as that of an ordinary woman caught in a machinery of jealousy and death, victim of a crime made possible by the very postal network that cements the country. Yet, when we look at her own life, a thick veil remains. The sources, eager for blood and scandal, highlight the crime more than the person. They mostly show her as John P. Dunning's wife, as the center of a motive, as a poisoned body. Her exact birth date, the month she was born, is still unknown. The city that welcomed her first breath remains unknown. Nothing is known about her studies, if she pursued any profession she might have had, her tastes, her readings, her passions. Between these few facts, silence extends. But this silence speaks for itself. It says how an entire life can be reduced, in the eyes of others, to its brutal end. It speaks of the violence of a destiny where a woman, born in anonymity, marries a newsman, crosses a continent to San Francisco, sees her marriage dissolve there, then returns to die with her family, struck from afar by a rival she never sees. Beyond the prison bars where Cordelia Botkin dies, beyond the reports signed by John P. Dunning, a figure remains, immobile, fragile, and yet indestructible, because forever inscribed in crime history. That of Mary Elizabeth Pennington Dunning, whose fate is sealed by a simple box of candies, and whose name is etched into the memory of the century.